The slap echoed through the silent classroom, sharp and humiliating. Students froze, gasps rippling through the air as the arrogant bully, Jason, smirked at his friends. They laughed, thrilled by the chaos he created. Their victim wasn't a shy classmate this time. It was their own teacher, Miss Rivera. She stood there, her cheeks stinging red, her eyes steady but quiet. Nobody had ever dared lay a hand on a teacher before, and Jason thought he'd won. But what nobody knew was that Miss Rivera carried a past none of them could imagine, a past of discipline, resilience, and martial arts mastery. Miss Rivera wasn't just another young teacher trying to keep order in a rowdy high school. She had once been a national martial arts champion, trained in disciplines most people couldn't even pronounce. But she never spoke about it. To her, teaching was about patience, kindness, and helping students find their own strength, not showing off her own. Yet that day, her silence was tested to its very core. Jason had been a problem since the first day of school. His father's wealth gave him a sense of entitlement, and his gang of friends followed him like shadows, ready to back up his taunts. He bullied weaker students, disrupted lessons, and ignored every warning. Miss Rivera tried everything: firm rules, private talks, involving the school counselor, but Jason only escalated. The students whispered that no one could control him, that he was untouchable. Until that slap. Her hand trembled for a moment, not from fear but from the weight of the choice before her. She could report him, as any teacher would, but she saw the other students watching, eyes wide, breaths held. They weren't just watching a teacher being bullied. They were watching to see if it was possible to stand up to people like Jason. Miss Rivera slowly lifted her gaze, locking eyes with Jason. Something in her stare unnerved him. The smirk faltered for the first time. "Enough," she said calmly. Jason laughed mockingly, pushing his luck. "What are you gonna do? Cry? You're just a teacher." He stepped closer, shoving her desk aside with his knee. His friends cheered him on, but the room grew tense. In that instant, Miss Rivera's decision was made. When Jason swung again, she moved, not with anger, but with precision. A simple sidestep, so fluid it looked effortless, and his arm cut through empty air. Before he realized what happened, her hand caught his wrist, twisting it gently but firmly until he stumbled to the ground. Gasps filled the room. "What the?" Jason yelped, scrambling up, but Miss Rivera's stance was calm, almost graceful. She hadn't hurt him, just shown him he wasn't in control. Jason lunged again, furious now, but the teacher's movements were like water. She redirected his force, spun lightly, and with one sharp motion, swept his legs from under him. He hit the floor with a thud, his pride crumbling faster than his courage. His friends, who had been laughing seconds ago, now sat frozen, their mouths hanging open. The class had never seen anything like it. Miss Rivera wasn't striking with violence. She was defending, controlling, showing absolute mastery without cruelty. And in those few minutes, the entire balance of power in the classroom shifted. Jason, red-faced and shaken, scrambled up again but stopped midway. The confidence was gone from his eyes. He wasn't facing a fragile teacher anymore, he was facing someone unshakable. Miss Rivera lowered her hands, her voice calm and steady. "This isn't strength, Jason. This is fear, and you've been letting it control you." The silence was deafening. For the first time, Jason had no comeback. From that day forward, everything changed. Jason didn't transform overnight, but the fear in his eyes turned to respect. The bullying lessened, the disruptions faded, and slowly, he started staying after class, not to taunt, but to listen. It turned out his bravado was hiding loneliness, pressure from a home where his father's shadow loomed too large. Miss Rivera never humiliated him about what happened. Instead, she guided him, the same way she guided every student who struggled to find their place. Her secret was no longer hidden, but it wasn't the martial arts that changed the class. It was the message behind it, that true strength isn't about domination, it's about control, discipline, and protecting others. The students never forgot that day. To them, Miss Rivera wasn't just a teacher anymore. She was living proof that you could stand tall against anyone, no matter how powerful they seemed. And as for Jason, he carried the memory of that classroom floor with him for the rest of his life, not as shame, but as the moment he finally learned respect. The slap that was meant to humiliate ended up inspiring an entire class, showing them that sometimes, the quietest people hold the strongest power.